Welcome to the Beantown BeatDown. I'm Matthew Barris.
Gabe Shamus.
That's right. So this weekend is the first part of our suicide mission for the Patriots, playing against the Cardinals this Sunday. I actually might be drinking alcohol this Sunday.
Oh, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Now let's get into some headlines. We got a big... this is a big fight weekend here. It all starts tomorrow night. Daniel Jacobs versus Sergio Mora 2 for the Super WBA Middleweight Championship. And then, of course, the next night, Saturday night, it's... also that same night, Glory Kickboxing 33, Rico Verhoeven versus Anderson Broderick Silva for the Heavyweight Championship, plus a 4-man featherweight title tournament, and Simon Marcus defends his middleweight title against Jason Willinas in a rematch. The next day, World Championship Boxing has 2 fights on HBO. First, from London, England, this takes place at 5:30 in the afternoon. Gennady Golovkin defending his middleweight titles against the IBF welterweight champion Kell Brook in Kell Brook's home of London, England, O2 Arena. Then later on that night, it's back to America. Roman Chocolito Gonzalez takes on Carlos Chadres for the WBC Junior Bantamweight Championship of the World.
Okay,
attempting to be the first Nicaraguan boxer ever to win 4 titles in 4 weight divisions, I think it is. Alexis Arrella hadn't even done that. And on the undercard of that, a rematch between Yoshihiro Kamiga and Jesus Soto Caras. And finally, UFC 203 on pay-per-view. This one I can't order. I can't order this fight, but I will be tuning in on the news and stuff because it's the debut of CM Punk against Mickey Gall. His first fight in the UFC. Yeah. Also, we have Fabricio Verdum versus Mr. Ronda Rousey, Travis Brown. Hopefully he'll win this one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he'll get much pity sex if if he loses to Fabricio Verdum. Then, of course, in the main event for the UFC heavyweight title, Cleveland's own Stipe Miocic defending his title against Alistair Overeem, world-class striker, one of the greatest strikers in kickboxing and MMA. So, this is a good weekend of fights, man.
Yeah, it sounds like it. For sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. A good weekend of fights. And, I really am going to be rooting for CM Punk on this one. And also, because he's a former wrestler, now getting into mixed martial arts. And also, speaking of that, for Macho Doesn't Mean This, we're going to have a debate on a certain fighter pro wrestler.
You need to chew on this.
Oh, yeah, man, chew on this. Sorry. Chew on this. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. And actually, now it's time for Macho Doesn't Mean This. So, Gabe, take it away, man.
All right. So, I'm going to be talking about something that's a common phrase, but I don't think we think enough about, which is kicking while they're down. Heard of that? Whole.
Yeah, kicking a person when he's down.
Kick someone while they're down. Why don't you? So this is something that we kind of talk about, and we do kind of look down on it, but we don't really talk about why, and I think it kind of needs to be discussed. So you know, it's a common thing to say when you feel like someone's, you know, attacked you unfairly. Oh, you're just kicking me while I'm down. Not always true, but you know, but it is. But when it is true, it's, you know, it's important to point that out, because, like I said, people do want to look down on it. They do want to say that shouldn't be how it is. You know, some of there's plenty of examples throughout, you know, TV shows, pop culture, that type of thing, and you know, it really, you know, just like the phrase "pick on some," why don't you pick on someone your own size? It really doesn't, you know, it really doesn't prove how strong you are. In fact, usually the opposite. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly, and you know, even someone people who could look at our episodes, you know, the episodes where I've talked down about Abby Lee Miller and, you know, Dance Mom. People will say like, "Oh, why are you kicking her when she's down? She's going to jail, and you know, she's doing a lot for these young girls. Without Abby, these girls wouldn't be on television." No, I mean, these girls are really talented. I mean, yeah, you know, they need somebody to help them, you know, techniques and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but you know, Abby Lee Miller, she has no redeeming qualities. So she brought most of it out herself.
Right. And the other interesting thing about that is that she is in a position of power herself. No matter, you know, even if right now, you know, she's sort of being looked down on. She has the court case or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but even with all that, she came from a position of power, and she was always the one doing the kicking. So that doesn't actually change that much. You know, it takes a lot to bring someone, you know, with that much power down. So that's an interesting side of it, is that, you know, sometimes, you know, people like Abby Lee will say that, you know, if they're going through a rough patch, and then the media, you know, swoops in. But you know, in this case, I would say that the media was being vultures for a good reason. You know, she did these things. You know what I mean? And you know, she was coming from a position of power anyway. So the interesting thing about that is that I don't think she's actually down the way most people, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, because listen, I mean, just everything about her. I mean, she is just a big bowl of bat shit. I mean, she's.
Yes, that's one way to put it.
And a lot of people say like, well, she's had some people, you know, she's had her former dancers there on Broadway and doing stuff like that. But I don't think anybody. I mean, granted, I don't follow Broadway and stuff like that as close as. You know, maybe your fellow gays, but
yes.
but you know, I never heard of any famous dancers coming from Abby Lee Miller. You know, I don't never heard of any famous dance choreographers that come from Abby Lee Miller's. You know, and also her mom had a dance studio, and she inherited the dance studio from her. And Abby Lee was not a really good dancer either.
Right.
I mean, you always hear the stories of, oh, if I missed a step, my mom would beat me. If I ever missed a step.
Right, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and, well, I mean, didn't Maddie Ziegler come from Dance Moms, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll give her that. I mean, yeah, you know, Maddie, she's also a judge on So You Think You Can Dance this season.
Oh, interesting. Gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people have left Abby Lee Miller. I mean, she's just somebody who believes her own hype. You know, she has a massive ego. You know, of course she's an only child, so of course she's a spoiled, bratty little bitch.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, I have no sympathy for her. I mean, and everyone will say, and I've heard people online doing comments like, well, dancing, it's a hard world, you know, it's very cutthroat, and the girls, they have to have a thick skin in order to make it, you know, and she says, like, and she always tries to justify it, too. She says, like, well, you know, when you go to audition for Broadway, or, you know, they'll say, you know, for a chorus line, they'll say, you, and that's it. They don't tell you why you did it wrong. At least I'm telling them why they did it wrong. I mean, you can tell them what you did wrong, but at the same time, you don't have to be a bitch about it.
Right, exactly, and that's and then that's also like an interesting point that yes, it is a cutthroat world, if one of the girls didn't make it, that would be an example of someone being down, and let's not kick them when they're down, but again, I don't think with the fame and the power that she's gained, I don't think that's I think it takes a lot more to bring someone like that down, and also we should distinguish saying the facts about someone is also not actually kicking them. That's also something I would say. Kicking someone when they're down implies just being really brutal for no reason, which she has done. Whereas the press mentioning the stuff she's involved in and whatever, that's not actually kicking her. That's investigating. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. I even got another example, like, for example, when, people pile on the WWE, like they say, like, oh, it's the evil company, it's, Vince McMahon always has to have control. I mean, yeah, Vince McMahon has done a lot of shitty things. He's not a saint.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that aren't his fault, and there are some things I've actually praised him on.
Right.
I praised that whole company on.
Right.
It is kind of shitty that the wrestlers don't have a union, it is shitty that there are some wrestlers that didn't really get their push, or some have gotten fired for no reason, but at the same time, there's so much other stuff that we praise them for.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's not... there are some things I will take Vince McMahon's side on, and some things I won't take his side on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, again, let's be very, careful about what we're talking about, and that type of thing. I was gonna have the example of, I watched this show Ghost Whisperer from like 2007. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah, I've seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, with Jennifer Love Hewitt. Anyway, there's this one episode, where there's the legend of Bloody Mary. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. If you say Bloody Mary a few times and turn around or something, each version of the myth is different, but it is a pretty ingrained myth even in modern day that then Bloody Mary will come out of the mirror and attack you.
Really? I thought it was Phil Collins.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so in this episode, there's this specific version on this college campus, and anyway, this one girl agrees to do it, but she's kind of an outsider, in the group. She's not well known, and anyway, when she does, you don't know exactly what happened, but she does actually die, and the legend is that Bloody Mary scares you to death, but anyway, I find out later that one of the Melinda is the character's name. She snoops around and whatever and finds out more about the other girls, and anyway, it turns out that one of the other girls actually split away and snuck into the bathroom and like put on fake blood and was behind her and scared her, that basically. And what they didn't know is that this girl had a heart condition.
Wow.
Yeah. So she, inadvertently, she was just doing a stupid prank, but inadvertently it ended up, killing this girl. So anyway, that's, if she had known, about it, that'd be a very different thing. And that would be kicking someone while they're down, in this case, literally, because she falls down to the floor. And not only that, but like I said, it has a much worse consequence in that she actually died. Anyway, her ghost is, I guess I should have said, is the one that is trying to figure it out, and is haunting the girls. She doesn't even know why, but it turns out for what one of them did. Anyway, so that's and especially since that was kind of like a popularity thing, and part of the reason I think she stepped up and said that she would do it, would try and summon Bloody Mary was to be a little bit more popular, and she was still the outsider of the group. So that would she is the prime person that could have been kicked while she was down. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think of more on the spot, but that's pretty much, you pretty much get the idea. And, and like I said, people say pick on someone your own size, that type of thing is, it really doesn't make you stronger. And in fact, it makes you, look worse to most people. And, and especially like with the Ghost Whisperer, you might have someone haunting you, or your conscience haunting you. You have to live with what you've done after you've kicked someone while they're down.
Personally, I wouldn't mind Jennifer Love Hewitt haunting me.
Right.
Matter of fact, whenever a ghost appears, the first thing they say to her is, "Hey, are those things real?"
Yeah, I'm sure. No, she might get in perilous situations, but she always survives. So unfortunately, no, you can't have her. She's not the one that would be haunting you. But who knows? Maybe in a few years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. And also another example of kicking people when they're down. Well, actually, is of course the Ronda Rousey thing.
Yes.
I mean, after she lost to Holly Holmes, I mean, there were so many people that were like, finally she got humbled. She got a stick up her ass, and those were the same motherfuckers who, when she was winning and all that stuff, they were saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna order a Ronda Rousey pay-per-view anymore. Oh, her fights end too quickly,"
right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are just a bunch of like motherfuckers right there. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I'm sure that some of them would argue what I argued about, about Abby Lee, that she actually is in a position of too much power. But I mean, really, no, because that was definitely a moment when she was down, literally, figuratively, everything. And it's very different than a celebrity like Abby Lee, because she actually puts her body on the line every time. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Fighters is very different. She put her body on the line, and in this case, her face was like messed up. Her face was fucked up. To show those pictures celebratorily is also fucked up. That's really that's a shitty thing to do. Even if you thought that she was being ungracious, or even if you thought she was talking too much shit about her opponents, like, that's still a pretty shitty thing to do. I think I said it at the time when we were talking about all the backlash against her and stuff. And it was like, to show those pictures and to celebrate her her defeat, and her and the way she looks because of it is like really slimy thing to do. I don't care what you thought, what type of shit you thought she was talking, like, that's like, like in her case, that like the her defeat is actually shown on her face. That's taking the worst of what she is experienced, and and putting it up for the world to laugh at. Fuck that. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. And because Abby Lee Miller. I mean, I have no sympathy for her. I have sympathy for Ronda Rousey, but I have no sympathy for Abby Lee Miller.
Yeah.
And
it's again, it's two very different lines of work, and and like I said, Ronda and all the other fighters, they put their body on the line. They put their face, their body, their well-being on the line when they do this stuff. So it's a very how elite you think it's become, it's still a very different thing. You know.
Yeah, it's just the people at Lifetime. I mean, I like Lifetime and all, because they do have some good shows on there and some good movies. But I mean, these are just producers. They just want to make money off this.
Yeah.
And the moms and the producers, they all want to lick her clit, and
yep.
both literally and figuratively. But
right.
well, I mean, she's not a good. I mean, she is. She is pretty. She is very pretty. I mean, I've said before I'd had dirty, angry sex with her.
Yes.
So I would lick her clit too. But Abby Lee Miller. I mean, I just have no sympathy for her.
Yeah, exactly.
And also,
and then anyway, just going back to Ronda for a second. The other thing is, I said it before. I said it at the time. We talked about Lady Gaga posting that pic of her as well. And I was like, I have so much love for Lady Gaga. I think she really is the best, and most of the time she's advocating for really great things. I've talked about before how she
anti-bullying,
yeah, exactly.
Gun control.
She's actually an activist, as well as just being a pop star, which is fantastic. But when she did that, and said this is what happens when you don't touch gloves, I lost some respect for her. I agree that maybe it wasn't statesmanlike of Ronda to not touch gloves, but again, that was a clear example of kicking someone when they're down. What Gaga did.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of forgiven Gaga for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Donald Trump.
It's not something I hold a grudge on her for, but since we're talking about it now, I figured I might as well point that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you gotta. But like I said, we've talked bad about celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, just like with WWE, I also praise a lot of things that they do.
Yeah.
And just like people on the internet, people who like hound down celebrities and stuff like that. But I also praise them for support too. Like for example, Selena Gomez has lupus. Well, I mean, she announced it earlier this year, I think.
Really?
But she says that she's going to be taking some time off because the lupus has led to depression. So we don't know when she'll be back. I mean, I know she has a movie coming out soon. It looks like an Oscar-worthy movie. It looks like those type of movies that they release around enough time to be nominated for an Oscar. Don't think she'll be nominated, but and I've seen online, Demi Lovato's fans, Taylor Swift's fans, and Ariana Grande's fans. They're saying like we have to support Selena. Hashtag support Selena.
Right.
Hope she gets through this.
Right.
And and I really do hope she gets through this too, because having lupus is very it's a sad thing. It's on an immune system, and it affects you and stuff like that. So I really do hope she gets through it.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Yeah. Also, also last night, speaking of Gaga and Gomez, it's kind of funny we bring this up because last night I had a good dream about both of them.
Here we go.
Well, I had this dream that me and Gaga were like we were in the actual hotel of American Horror Story.
Oh, okay.
And we went to one of the rooms, and and I was and I fucked her, but at the bed where like there's a big like pole and stuff like that, like Gomez was handcuffed to it, and then Gaga she actually a few times hit her with that what's that little thing that they hit the horses with?
Oh yeah, like the
I forget what they call it, but
that little thing with the multi-tailed whip.
Yeah. Yeah, she was actually whipping her with it a few times. And then and she said, "Now I want you to fuck her." And then of course I I went from behind, fucked her in her ass, so.
Man, if I could have half the celebrity sex dreams that you do, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a little bit of a boner right now, so.
Oh God.
Yeah, but you made a good point of kicking people when they're down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we should try and shame more people for it. That's the other thing. It ends when when people get more shamed by it. You know what I mean? And when people lose their connections because of it instead of gaining some, that type of thing. So,
amen, brother.
Yep.
Amen. And now it's time for Chew on This, and this is a little bit of a debate here. Well, Brock Lesnar. Of course, this is a bit old news, but But I've been wanting to talk about this because I'm really pissed off about this, and this is where I do not defend WWE on. Brock Lesnar, of course, tested positive for PEDs during his UFC fight. He got suspended from the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
PEDs?
Yeah, PEDs, performance enhancing
drugs. Okay, got it.
So he got suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I mean, granted, I don't think he'll be back at UFC. I mean, he says that he might come back, maybe not, we'll see. But the WWE did not suspend him going into SummerSlam against Randy Orton. And they say that the reason that they did not suspend Brock Lesnar is because they don't drug test part-time employers.
Okay.
Yeah, and
is he a part-time employer?
Well, yes, he makes out of the year he makes like 6 appearances, or because like he only shows up at the big pay-per-views like the SummerSlams, the WrestleManias, and Survivor Series.
Right.
A few times he'll show up on Raw, but that's pretty much it. And, this is where I am pissed at WWE because, the WWE, they have a good reputation for the wellness program, testing and suspending wrestlers. I mean, they recently suspended Paige. And also they fired Billy Gunn.
Oh, yeah? Yeah,
Billy Gunn, former member of the New Age Outlaws, a great tag team wrestler. He was a coach there. He was working over at NXT. He was a coach.
Yeah.
And they suspended him for using testosterone replacement therapy in a bodybuilding competition. And they fired his ass.
Right.
Now, of course, if you're Billy Gunn, you're like, well, wait a minute. This guy gets a pass only because he's a part-time employer?
Right.
So, if you're a part-time employer, that means that anybody who works part-time can show up high as fuck, and that could put the wrestlers in jeopardy. It could put the wrestler himself in jeopardy.
Right. Or with performance-enhancing drugs, the problem is that it gives you that unfair advantage. I think that's like the main thing. There was, during the Olympics, there was that Russian. A swimmer or a sprinter or something like that. There was that Russian woman that's been known to take performance-enhancing drugs, and she actually said was talking about how people are treating her badly, etc. Which I don't like people being unsportsmanlike, but because of this, I don't give a shit. But anyway, she was then like, why is Michael Phelps so celebrated when people know that he smokes weed? And and so I understand from an international perspective, I'm sure that makes sense. I can understand where where she's coming from, but he
didn't test positive for weed during the Olympic Games.
Well, yes, okay, that's one thing. So yes, he wasn't actually high during the time in Rio, so that's good. That's important. But the other thing is I think people would still agree that it's people that have actually studied this, that it's a very different consideration. Being high, from marijuana, from smoking a bong, like that's a very different thing. And especially for something like swimming, where speed is involved, that can actually, if anything, that would decrease your ability. That wouldn't increase your ability. Whereas performance enhancing drugs are specifically made to give you an unfair advantage. So it's a very different thing. Not to mention that that the Olympics are sponsored by beer and whatever. So I think that's hypocritical of them as well. But yeah, I think it's an extremely different thing to have, to be high on any recreational drug, really, versus, obviously if it's a really hard drug, that's against their health, and that's, a different consideration, and I think, they should be worried about that. But it's a very different thing. I think it's its own separate class, when we're talking about for, an athletic sport to be taking performance-enhancing drugs. There's a reason they call it that. They enhance your performance. They give you an unfair advantage.
Exactly. And also, let's take this out of the sports world for a bit, because
right.
You work for CVS, right?
Yeah.
Now, at CVS, I'm sure you know some people who only work there part-time.
Yes.
Do the part-time employees at CVS, do they still have to go through a drug test too?
Right. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know about, like, cashiers and stuff. Obviously I don't know about that, but I'm pretty sure anyone who works at the pharmacy, yes, has to take a drug test. I'm almost positive about that. So yes, there are plenty of people that will work there part-time, and yes, they have to take a drug test. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's exactly a good point.
I mean, because you're still on the payroll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm working at WWE, if I'm the Roman Reigns or Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, or John Cena, I'd be like, well, wait a minute. This guy, we're full-time employees, we're on the road, and we always get to be drug tested. But this guy who out of the year maybe shows up maybe 6 times,
yep.
He gets a free pass.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is where definitely I fault WWE
mm-hmm.
at, because, WWE, claims to be drug-free, and,
right.
Because after that steroid scandal and stuff like that,
mm-hmm.
and you're just like, well, what does that say about the wellness program? What does it say about the millions of dollars they try to get wrestlers and even ex-wrestlers, guys who don't even work at the company anymore, put them through rehab with
mm-hmm.
millions and thousands of dollars.
Right, exactly. And then, again, this is a performance-enhancing drug. I think it's its own special class, very different. And if you even step it in the ring once, you should be tested for performance-enhancing drugs. That's pretty standard. Any competition that you're gonna have, even if you only do 6 fights a year, well, if you're taking performance-enhancing drugs for all of them, then that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? That cheapens the whole competition.
Yeah, and also look at the people who. I mean, of course, Chris Jericho doesn't have a contract with WWE. He works
mm-hmm.
part-time, too, because he's mostly doing his podcast and working on his band.
Yeah.
The Rock, he shows up for WrestleManias, and Undertaker,
right, exactly.
He shows up.
He has a whole other career now.
Yeah, The Undertaker, he shows up for WrestleMania as well.
Mm-hmm. I
mean, of course, I think he's getting near retirement. But let's say, for example, those 3 guys, let's say they were to show up and they were just going to work one match or work an angle, and they just come in and they just smoke weed,
mm-hmm.
and they're high as a kite,
mm-hmm.
or doing coke or whatever. I mean, it's like, what, do they get a pass too?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. I mean, in this, since, as you said, since there's the wellness program, they're trying to espouse a certain values and a certain level playing field. So yes, that should also be a problem. And they should also get thrown the book at it, for that. Again, I don't think weed actually enhances their performance. I think it could detract from your performance. But yeah, if you're going to set up the whole wellness program and say that we have a certain standard here, then you should hold everyone to that standard.
Well, yeah, exactly. And Brock Lesnar. I mean, this really also makes Brock Lesnar look bad too. I mean, because especially more so now in the wrestling world, because in the wrestling world, Brock Lesnar really not a liked person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in fact, in OVW, when the OVW was part of the WWE, it was a training performance center and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was he was good at the physical stuff, but he wasn't really good at promos. And he was a bit of a prick because, he came from collegiate wrestling and he had a jock mentality. So anyone below him, was bullied and berated.
Mm-hmm.
And, he doesn't have much friends backstage. I mean, he's gotten a lot of heat with, with Chris Jericho. He had a heat with, Undertaker. Him and Undertaker don't get along. Yeah. Kind of surprising because they've had some good matches with each other.
Okay, yeah.
And as far as I know, the only friend of his is the Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
But Brock Lesnar, he is kind of prickish, so this makes him more of a prick because now not only does he get to not be on the road as much as the wrestlers and collect a paycheck and can just show up, for the moment, he also is exempt from being drug tested at the WWE. So,
yeah, exactly. That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Put it that way.
Well, yeah, especially for someone who doesn't wrestle full time. I mean, he doesn't do the house shows. I mean, he can just show up on Raw a few times, and then after a big pay-per-view, can go back to his farm and shoot animals and fuck Sable. Yeah, him and Sable are married. Matter of fact, Sable actually has a granddaughter.
Really?
Well, because her daughter from another relationship has a daughter himself. So she's both a MILF and a GILF. She's a McGilf. McGilf.
Oh lordy.
McGilf. What are you trying to be? An Irish female R&B singer? Super bad.
All right. Well, yeah, that was a good discussion.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, we're going to end it right here.
Yep.
And, stay tuned for some other stuff.
Yeah, comment, subscribe.
Yep, and we're going to be announcing some things coming up soon. In the near future. And from Beantown to Your Town, this is Beantown,
BeatDown.
saying, wait for it, Go Patriots!